Hello, my travelers! Today we're chatting about our Parisian escapes. So yes, you may notice a bit of a change in scenery today. We're having renovations done to our basement, so I'm in a bit of a temporary office right now, aka my dining room, but I'll be in my new office soon, hopefully in 4 weeks. Cross fingers. So yes, let's talk about our Paris excursions. So on our Avalon river cruise that we took back in May, this is the Active and Discovery on the Seine river cruise that we took, myself and my husband. The first night we were docked in Paris. So the morning when we woke up, we were still in Paris and we had an excursion. We actually had a choice of 3 different excursions that we could have taken. So there was a bike ride through the streets of Paris. There was a foodie and cultural tour on the West Bank. And there was also just a classic excursion. We decided to go with the classic excursion. We weren't really interested in a bike ride. And, you know, because I have a food allergy, I don't always enjoy food tours. And we were going to be on the left bank anyway. So it made sense for us to do the classic excursion. Man, did we make the right choice. That morning was the coolest and rainiest and most miserable morning that we had on our entire trip. So we were super happy that we went on this tour because it started off as a bus tour. It was just a large bus tour and we rode around the center of Paris, and the guide pointed out some interesting landmarks and told a little bit of the history. One of the highlights of that tour was the Arc de Triomphe, because our big giant, big bus went round the traffic circle on the Arc de Triomphe. It was very interesting seeing the bus driver navigate that without any accidents, while still giving us some amazing views of the Arc de Triomphe. Got some great pictures of that. So that was interesting. The bus tour then ended at and dropped us off at the Paris Pantheon. Now, the Paris Pantheon, what is that? That's certainly not high on the list for must-see sites of Paris, and certainly wasn't on the top of our list of places to see. But you know what? It was a great experience. This is a really interesting building, very large and epic and grand, and the art inside is heroic and awe-inspiring. You walk inside, and it's this hush that falls over you because it's quiet. It feels very important. In the center of it all, there's this Foucault pendulum that actually, with the engineering of it, actually shows and displays the effects of the rotation of the Earth, which is really quite interesting. We saw it, and listen to the noise in the background. There's this, music going around. Really, really neat. It gives me chills just remembering it. We had the option of either climbing up to the top dome for some really epic views of Paris, or we could go down into the crypts to see some very famous French people who had been entombed there at the Pantheon. My husband and I decided to walk up to the dome. It was quite the hike up. There's lots of steps. This is not for somebody who has mobility issues. That's the down to the crypts was much easier, as it was just one floor, one flight of steps. And they did have elevators down to the basement, but not to the dome. So you got to be able to climb that. When we got to the top, we lucked out because it was just starting, the rain was starting to clear off a little bit. It wasn't quite as rainy as when we had arrived, and we were able to see a really great view of Paris. We could see the Eiffel Tower, we could see Notre Dame with all the scaffolding up, which actually is a great view to see that and see all, the continuing restoration work that's going on there, and just see Paris. It was great. I would highly recommend this. At the end of it, we had a little bit of free time to explore, so I took the time and actually went down into the crypts on my own because there was one couple that I really wanted to see, and that was the Curies. The Curies are entombed here. Marie Curie and Pierre Curie are entombed here. So I got to see that, and that was really neat. There are a lot of other important French figures here that I won't list them all off, but honestly, this was really interesting. That was our morning. We were bussed back to the ship for lunch, had our lunch, and then we had free time in Paris until the evening. My husband and I decided we took an Uber and we went to the Cluny Museum, which is a smaller museum. It's not huge and grandiose, but it has a ton of very interesting artifacts. And in fact, it's built on an old Roman bathhouse, and you can see some of the ruins from that Roman bathhouse. Some of the artifacts were from that time frame, and it kind of has a whole bunch of different artifacts. Even though it's, you know, like a small museum, it's still overwhelming the amount of artifacts that are here to try and take a moment to see everything and admire the craftsmanship and try and find out what the story was when it was made, the history behind everything. It is a bit overwhelming. The pièce de résistance for that museum is this large multi-tiered tapestry. It's the Lady and the Unicorn, which, oh, it's fabulous. And finding out the symbolism between all the different things that are on the tapestry, the craftsmanship is really phenomenal, and it is a gorgeous piece of artwork. And that was the Cluny Museum. Really enjoyed the museum. I think we were a bit tired, so we kind of maybe rushed through that a little bit. It would have been great to be able to give that more time. So it was a really full day. We were pretty tired by the end of it. We got back, we ended up just Ubering, or you could very easily have gotten taxis as well. But it was very easy. We were able to Uber back and forth to the ship. So that was great. We got back, we went for supper, and kind of as we were enjoying, just before supper actually, happy hour, once everybody was on board, we took off on the ship. And look at that, it turned out to be an absolutely gorgeous sunny evening. And that's kind of how springs are. May's kind of like that for Paris and France. It can be really cool and cloudy and blah in the morning and then become quite lovely by the afternoon. We experienced that a few times on our trip. So this has been our day in Paris. Absolutely loved it. I'm Alicia with Evening Star Travel, and I love river cruising. I would love to plan and book your next river cruise vacation. Don't hesitate to reach out today. Now's a great time to start planning for next year, for 2025. So if you're thinking of a river cruise for next year, now's the time to start planning and doing that. Reach out today to start planning. You have a wonderful day and happy travels.